U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is demanding the immediate removal of President Donald Trump from office. Pelosi added her name to the growing list of lawmakers demanding that Vice President Mike Pence initiate proceedings to strip Trump of power and authority by invoking the 25th Amendment. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and other Democratic lawmakers have likewise called for Trump's removal, directly implicating him in the violent scuffle that broke out in the U.S. Capitol yesterday.
Calling for this seditious act, the President has committed an unspeakable assault on our nation and our people. I join the Senate Democratic leader in calling on the Vice President to remove this President by immediately invoking the 25th Amendment. If the Vice President and the Cabinet do not act, the Congress may be prepared to move forward with impeachment.
For the 25th Amendment to be invoked, Pence and the majority of Trump's cabinet would need to declare that the president is unable to perform the duties of the presidency. Trump could either accept or reject this declaration. If Trump rejects, the issue will then be decided through a vote by Congress. Constitutional law expert Elizabeth Wydra explains that invoking the 25th Amendment would be a quicker way to remove Trump from office compared to initiating impeachment proceedings.
After the 25th Amendment is invoked, then the Vice President takes over acting duties until the issue is resolved by Congress if the President objects. So essentially, what it would mean if the 25th Amendment is invoked, regardless of what Congress does at the end, that Vice President Pence would take over the rest of President Trump's term. Of course, the other method of removing the president from office, which we already know well, is impeachment. And while removing a president from office is obviously also a grave and very serious action, there's really no other consequence that is appropriate.
Wish we could say we didn't see it coming. That's U.S. President-elect Joe Biden's next-day reaction to what transpired in the U.S. Capitol. Biden says yesterday's riots were simply the culmination of Trump's years of downplaying the rule of law. Biden also appealed to the public to stop referring to those who stormed the Capitol as mere protesters.
The past 4 years, we've had a president who's made his contempt for our democracy, our Constitution, the rule of law, clear in everything he has done. He unleashed an all-out assault on our institutions of our democracy from the outset. And yesterday was but the culmination of that unrelenting attack. Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists.
Wall Street and political experts are joining the loud chorus of voices condemning Trump's hand in what transpired at the U.S. Capitol Hill yesterday. Let's listen in.
That's a terrible tragedy for the country.
We will never be the indispensable nation again.
The United States has squandered its moral authority to help lead what a global political and economic system should look like.
This is a president who has actively encouraged this kind of behavior, because if he hadn't, it wouldn't take place.
The Republican Party started as a third party. The party of Lincoln, that was a third party, and we may have to do that again.
It's important for the party to set aside those notions of being tied to one person.
American democracy will survive, and none of our leaders will be intimidated or fearful of doing what's right for the country.
We'll be back with more stories after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The Interagency Task Force is commending the initiative of some local government units in securing vaccines for their constituents. Because of this, vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. said that President Duterte immediately signed the tripartite agreements between the administration, the LGUs, and drug manufacturers. Under this deal, Philippine authorities and vaccine manufacturers will work together to ensure sufficient doses of vaccines in the country. By factoring in orders from local governments, Galvez says it will be easier to secure deals with pharmaceutical companies. Adding to the list of local chiefs gearing up for vaccine procurement is San Pablo City Mayor Amben Amante, who has earmarked an initial 50 million pesos for the cause.
Kami po ay naglaan for the meantime ng 50 million pesos para makapag-avail kami ng bakuna. At isa nga po sa mga tinitingnan po nating bakuna na pwede namin hong bilhin ay yung Sputnik dahil yan po ay darating po sa ating bansa ngayon pong first quarter. Or kung medyo maliit po, yung atin pong AstraZeneca na second quarter po ang dating.
4 out of the 11 suspects in the alleged rape slay of flight attendant Christine Dacera faced reporters on Thursday to clear their names. The suspects claimed that Dacera died due to natural causes, probably from intoxication after partying during New Year's Eve. Romel Galido admitted that he was the one who saw Dacera's lifeless body. Meanwhile, 2 other suspects took turns trying to revive her to no avail. The suspects insisted that no foul play was committed because they were all close friends. They also volunteered a possible explanation as to how Christine sustained her injuries.
For the bruises, ang feeling ko sa legs kasi when we saw Tin na nasa bathtub, tas tumawag si Gigo and tumawag si Gigo na medic. Nung dumating yung medic, kumuha sila ng wheelchair. Yung wheelchair na kinuhaan nila, walang leg assist. Yung wheel lang, tapos upuan lang. Color black pa yon. Walang makabuhat kay Tin.
Meanwhile, the City Garden Grand Hotel denies allegations of quarantine violations amid Dacera's death. However, in an interview with 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, Department of Tourism NCR Director Woodrow Makiling Jr. said the hotel clearly breached IATF protocols by allowing partying and room hopping to happen within their premises.
No mixing. Not allowed to accept leisure guests. So very clear yun kasi of the permit that has been granted to them and the corresponding sanction that we have indicated in the show cause order is 6 months suspension of the accreditation and revocation of their certificate of authority to operate.
Devotees of the Black Nazarene are once again showing no signs of fear of contracting the coronavirus as they troop to Quiapo on the eve of the Traslacion. To tell us more about this, Justine Punsalang joins us live from Quiapo. Hi, Justine. Tell us how it is over there. Is it crowded?
Sean, despite the constant reminder of the priests and police to the public not to come here in Quiapo Church for the Novena Masses, at 4 a.m. this morning, devotees of the Black Nazarene continue to pour in. Way before the start of the first Mass this morning, the Quiapo Church and surrounding areas are already filled with people hoping to attend the Mass. There is an influx of people here today because it is not only just the eve of Traslacion, but also a Friday, otherwise known as Quiapo Day. But authorities have prepared for this. The whole stretch of Villalobos Street was cleared off of vendors and their stalls to give way for the line of devotees. 1-meter markers were also placed along the road to maintain physical distancing even at the line before entering Plaza Miranda. There are so many people who wanted to physically join the Mass inside or even just near Quiapo Church that their line reached as far back as Quezon Boulevard, curving to Palanca Street, then to Villalobos. Meanwhile, the parking lot at the side of Plaza Miranda along Quezon Boulevard is temporarily allotted for devotees, and vehicles are asked to look for other parking spaces. Before the Masses and even in his homily, Quiapo Church Rector Monsignor Hernando Coronel reminded the public yet again that coming to the church is not necessary to receive the blessing of the Black Nazarene. He reminded the faithful that it is better to stay and pray at home rather than to go to the church and possibly contract COVID-19, especially since all 15 masses tomorrow from 4 in the morning to 10:30 in the evening will be live streamed on their Facebook page. But for those who really want to physically attend the Mass, Monsignor Coronel reminded them of the required use of face masks and face shields and strict implementation of no entry for those below 15 and above 65 years old. He also encouraged devotees to attend Mass instead in other satellite churches that will also be having feast masses tomorrow, specifically in Santa Cruz Church, San Sebastian Church, and Nazarene Catholic School. Sean, starting at 10 o'clock in the evening, several roads will be closed in anticipation for the celebration of the Traslacion. Among these roads are the northbound and southbound lanes of Quezon Boulevard, part of España Boulevard from P. Campa until A. Mendoza, and the stretch of Evangelista and Palanca Street. Meanwhile, Manila Police District Director, Police Brigadier General Leo Francisco is here currently conducting inspection, and we asked him about the possibility of having signal jammers, and according to him, they are still studying if it is still necessary for tomorrow. Sean?
Right, thanks for that update, Justine Punsalang, reporting to us live from Quiapo in Manila. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao, and we are One News.